Are you here? Oh, okay, fantastic. So she provides services, right? So what do you think? Do you think as a service provider as she is, do you still think capital will be her biggest pain? As most people say, it's usually, one of the um, challenges entrepreneurs and startup founders face.
Thank you very much. I hope everyone can hear me. So I think my response to that is that capital is a coward, right? Capital, some people would say cash is king, but capital itself is actually a coward. And this is what I mean. So capital will go to wherever it is espoused or wherever it is loved, and it will leave wherever it is oppressed or harassed, right? So you could be given $1 billion to do a business, and you could lose that in years, right? I think it's we should be familiar with this startup in Kenya. What's its name now? Raised a couple of millions of dollars, blew everything within a year, and packed up, right? I think they were doing virtual kitchens or something like that, sponsored by investors. Also, a Nigerian investor actually invested in them. So capital is not I mean, I love capital, right? And I think every one of us should love capital and, cash. But it's not the be all and do all of business. You could actually lose a lot of your money if the environment is not right. And I'll give examples. So let's look at regulation and over-regulation. You could be within a system where there's too much taxation. And you see that, apologies to APC people, you see that in Lagos a lot. Almost every nook and cranny, somebody's asking you for a tax. So if you're paying tax on capital, essentially means capital is going down. So overregulation could kill your business without even having to talk about whether you have access to capital or not. Then you have also issues around education and skills, right? Do people have the skills and the education to be able to implement what they're really trying to do? So if, for example, I'm a graphics designer or a digital consultant, I'm supposed to do something, I don't have the skills, it doesn't matter how much people invested in me, it's never going to fly. Other things also include, and I'll mention Michael Porter here, who was talking about the competitive advantage of nations, and he said the competitive advantage of a nation is based on the ability of its industries to innovate and upgrade, period. Has nothing to do with whether you have a lot of capital or whether you have huge interest rates or whether you have decent currency. It's just really about the ability of your people to innovate and upgrade. If we do have a culture or values that allow us to be able to innovate and upgrade, then we can thrive. So that's Silicon Valley, right? They have a culture where people venture, they fail, and they go back. They have a system that protects them. So you're talking about social security. You can't fall below a certain level in those societies. So if you ventured and you failed, the society is still going to pick you up. Then you have issues also around property rights, and I think somebody was mentioning that earlier. We were lucky recently, we moved into our new house, and one of the biggest problems we had was how do you even secure the property rights? Let's even assume you have the money, right? And I think the guy who was talking about poverty was talking about even sometimes it's not because you don't have the money, it's actually because you have the money, but you can't do stuff. So if you need property rights to build a property or to build a warehouse or to build a factory, it could be a problem. I think recently the FIRS came up with a policy that said if you want to invest anything above 500,000 naira, you need to go and obtain a permit. This is nonsense. 500,000 naira is like, I don't know how much that is in dollars now. It's peanuts. But you need to go and get a permit from the government because you want to invest 500K. So, and these are the issues we're talking about.
Okay. So I would also say that as a journalist, there is this new. Okay, so for journalism is evolving, and so we have what is called drone journalism now. So it's just a way of using drones to ensure that the equality between people or amongst people is amplified. But in Nigeria, before you can own a drone, you actually have to have license for it, and that's a big one. So, okay, Abisola, I'll be coming back to you now. So we had the good news of saying that the highest number of women entrepreneurs in the world are Nigerian. But this is the bad news. Okay, so 9 out of 10 startups now, they shrivel and die, within 3 years. So, I mean, it requires deliberate actions to avert such deaths, in quotes, such deaths. So, I mean, so can you share us your experience of triumph as a woman, first of all, and I mean, your business, how has it survived? Triumph? Oh, okay. Your business is, first of all, and I mean, your business, how has it survived? Okay, so your business is one of the very few that have survived over the years. So let's hear how you've been able to, brave up the stifling policies, the market forces, and not the Niger factor. I mean, 9 out of 10. That's a huge number.
Thank you very much. I think one of the things that have helped my business is number one is interest, genuine interest in that industry. I started Abirabi Limited. It's an event company. I started it in the university. I think in my 100 level. That's over 13 years ago. So, and it's as a result of the fact that I needed to fend for myself in the university. I didn't have a father. I didn't have a mother that was to fend for my education, so I needed to do something. And luckily for me, I schooled in Unilag. And if you are familiar with the University of Lagos and the Lagos environment, it is very booming when it comes to business. So there is always that opportunity to be involved in, marketing, in hostessing, and all those kinds of things. So that was how I got, the idea to go into that business. And I started by, providing ushers for events, working under, one of the leading, event companies in Nigeria, Zafire Events and the likes, those are the leading event companies that we have in Nigeria. And from there, I was able to, just continue growing my business, using that money to fend for myself, to put myself through school, first degree, second degree, and I'm here today. So it's just that, doggedness of like, I want to pull myself out of the situation. I want to fend for myself. I want to be independent, and I want to do it by myself because I can do it. And luckily, it's unlike other businesses that require, stringent structures to actually set up. You mentioned something about capital. The event company does not require enormous capital. I don't need a physical structure. I don't necessarily need electricity in that sense. Okay, I have to have a space where I have to power. I don't even need to employ people on a regular basis. I can just have my business online. I can market myself, sell myself when I meet people, network, tell them what I do, and then, when I have a job, the only thing that really takes my money is, drawing up the contracts. And luckily for me, because I studied English language and I have, good interest in finance and law, I'm able to actually do some of those things by myself. So when I draw the contract, I want to ensure that the person I'm going into business with, my client, fulfills the contract. Because I've been able to work in marketing and other things before, I finished school. I have, great skills in negotiation. So I can tell you, even without my certificates, that I'm going to collect 5 million to plan your wedding, and you will pay me the money. So that's even before. So before I even, left university, I was earning so much money, So that's the reality of, when you have a business that is not, very tied to, the structures of what we mean by, okay, the ease of doing business. So that is what has helped me, because of course there are so many issues that affect, doing businesses in Nigeria. If you want to, export things, for instance, it's very difficult, the barrier. We talk so much about after trade and all of that. Electricity, structures, getting, the taxes that you talked about. I work as an asset manager, so I'm able to see the dichotomy between working in a structured environment and owning my own private business. So in a structured environment, I understand the challenges I consistently have to face on a daily basis as an asset manager. So, but in my private business, it is very easy for me to run it. But for a structured business, you can lose businesses. As an asset manager, we've lost businesses in years. In 6 years, we've had businesses that we set up with, thousands of dollars, and within 1-2 years, it's nowhere to be found today. No more. So, and even the ones that are existing, is the facilities that we have that we are running, you can't even get people to pay for that quality facilities. It's just sitting down there in Lagos. In the house of Lagos, somebody has the money because the economy is very bad. So those are the issues that we consistently face. And if you even want to run that business, diesel money it is going to kill you, send you out of business. So those are some of the challenges we have. But for a service industry that I am talking about, it's been very easy for me, and that is why it's been successful for me for over 13 years. Thank you.
So for your business, you don't need electricity. I mean, to start actually, just as you said, right? But for sell-off, I think you will need electricity. Am I correct? Okay, yes. So my question is about competition. I mean, how has Sell-off been able to compete favorably against other e-commerce platforms in Nigeria? I mean, given that there are so many factors that work against digitalpreneurs in Nigeria. I mean, and that also includes digital rights and cyber freedom. I mean, those those are all limitations. So let's just move. Like, what would be your recommendations? Because that's why we are here. We need to, prefer some solutions and way forward.
Well, Sell-off is in the e-commerce space, and I think the e-commerce sector is far from saturated. As we're talking, I'm sure some folks are launching their own right now, but somehow you need a strategy. I think as long as you have a strategy on how you're going to acquire customers, customer acquisition strategy is crucial, and you also have understanding of how to scale. I think you can, and then think about your unique selling proposition, why you're different. Then you can start to work your way up. But it's not different from any other business. I think for us, we've been fortunate to be able to raise funds, and I don't think it's easy. For me, at some point, I found something online that says the rule of five. Yeah, so like you have to talk to a lot of people, talk to 500 before maybe you get a yes. It may not be up to that, of course, but that just means that you have to talk to a lot of people before you can find someone who is really interested in what you do. But I think that it all boils down to that spirit that my colleague just talked about. Just having interest in what you do, being committed to what you do. For me, it's all about bootstrapping. We had already run for over 2 years before we raised funds. So, and I think if you were able to survive that long, I mean, we started at the beginning of pandemic. It was crazy. Our plan just fell flat. So, but somehow it's like we had 9 lives. So, like if you count that has 9 lives, you're not going to die. So that's just that spirit that keeps on moving. But I think it's just crucial to be able to identify, why you're different. We know our competitors. We know Gigi. We know Holist. We know a few other guys too. And the reason why we are coming into the market is to try and fight scam. That's our own area. Our message of safe buying and safe selling is what we're trying to push. And I think because of my own background and the background of some of our co-founders, we've been able to leverage on our resources. I run a digital agency, so pushing campaigns is not an issue. I have over 10 years experience as a programmer, trying to do all that by myself with little support, external support, it's no issue. But I don't think most founders in that space have that luxury of, opportunities. I think those are the things that has really helped. So I think for most people, it's difficult to say this is how you're going to do business. You have to leverage on your own unfair advantage. There has to be something that you're bringing in faster. So I think I'd just like to stop there, but Sell-off is no different from other businesses going through challenges, But we've been fortunate, and just look for opportunities. You have to keep going, and somehow, it will happen. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, Mr. Femi, I'm actually very captivated by your profile. You're very well traveled. I mean, you've been to the UK, you've worked in Italy and Saudi Arabia, India, Spain. I mean, United Kingdom. So, I mean, you work in the agri-tech business, yeah? So, I mean, you would be at a very good vantage point to be able to make some comparisons and to also offer references. So, speaking about the food value chain and hunger in Nigeria, and I mean, so from your visits to the other countries, what would you say? How do you think government can improve people's freedom to get food and and to survive?
Okay, thank you very much. Good question, and I think it can actually be linked to the experience you mentioned. So I spent some time in Morocco. I think it must have been 2020. Morocco is a desert country for most people who are familiar with the country. They don't have water, but they produce top quality agricultural products for export. So they have oranges that they ship to Europe. We actually visited a farm that's owned by the king. It's called Le Domaine Agricole. They produce olives, top quality olives. For people who know olive oil, they have grades. Because if it doesn't meet that requirement, it means they have a lot of oranges that they cannot ship to Europe. So what am I trying to say here? What we have to do here is everything in the world has gone scientific. It's no longer, I want to produce yam, I just put the yam sets in the ground and I expect to get good yams that I can sell to the UK. I think there was an incident in Nigeria where I think it was a minister of Agric or something who tried to ship out some yams from Nigeria and all the yams got rotten. I think he got to the UK, but the quality requirements could not be met, and therefore those guys said no, return it back to your country. All of these things, everything has gone scientific. We spent some time also in Switzerland where they process rice. There's a company called Buhler, Buhler. They actually train all of Africa how to process rice. They don't produce rice, but they have the infrastructure, so all this equipment, etc., that allow them to be able to process the rice into top quality grain that we then consume. They are the largest buyers of cocoa, so basically all the cocoa we produce in Ghana and Ivory Coast, they are the guys who then teach us how to process, So for me, it's really that we have to drive a knowledge-driven economy. Everything has to be driven by knowledge. We have to start looking for what's the cutting-edge idea that can help us to be frontliners in this thing. I'm sorry, maybe for those folks who are saying primary production or exporting non-processed produce is last year. No, it's not last year. It's actually just the fact that we've not been able to even optimize, like the number of people who eat yam in London is a lot. We have a lot of Nigerians in the UK who would gladly buy yam, right? So if all we just say is we're going to focus our production on Nigerians in London and we produce yam and we ship yam to them,